Hey, everybody, this is Roy McDonald from MacDon and Associates coming to you with the next episode of Tuesdays with Rory. I have a friend, brother in Christ. I have a football player. I have so many things here in the office today, and I'm excited to have Mr. Rob Bolden of Bolden Wealth Management here in the studio.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited for today.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm excited to have you. But without further ado, I'll let you give a little intro, who you are, what you're all about, and what brought you to the studio today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Robert Bolden, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I spent pretty much the entire time of my life there until I got to college. I was blessed enough to be highly recruited, played a lot of football since I was 12 years old, played back on the field. That was something that I was always used to. Went to St. Mary's, grew up around that area. So, I am deeply rooted in Detroit. I love Detroit, love my city. Football is at my core, a lot of who I am. I'm super blessed to have played that sport just because a lot of the lessons and things that I do now in my business, which we'll get to, is fundamentally from that, the character, the determination, the discipline, plus having the father who was military and all of that kind of stuff, it adds to it. But that's kind of at my core who I am. From there, after St. Mary's, went and played at Penn State University. I graduated in 2010, played at Penn State, got my degree, not from Penn State, but LSU. If you follow sports at all, you know that Penn State went through a whole thing during the 2012 season. So that caused me to leave and go to LSU, where I played for 2 years also. A lot of bouncing around, a lot of ups, a lot of downs in my career. But at the core of it, it helped me to get into who I am today and what I do. And that's in financial planning. So I opened Bolden Wealth Management. We work with former athletes. And that's for a reason, because I am a former athlete.
Yeah.
I am planning. I just got engaged in October last year. We're looking to buy a house, start a family, all of these things. And it's just cool to be able to do that for myself, and not only for myself, but to teach other people how to do that as well. So, the game plan from the football field is the same as the game plan is how we're putting it together in life and quarterbacking all of these situations. And I'm just blessed to be able to put it together. So, in a 2 or 3 minute synopsis of my story, that's at the core of who I am.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. I'm definitely a lot of good background, good information for you to be sharing with people, which is awesome, man. It's wealth management and like the whole debt freedom. Like right now, one of the big things that we see in our world is like the whole Dave Ramsey, getting debt free, becoming debt free. And then specifically in the real estate world, we see a lot of people where like you get into I'm not sure if you've heard of like Grant Cardone.
Yep.
Okay. So Grant Cardone, awesome, but he's totally the opposite. He's like, as much debt as you could possibly get in debt,
the credit cards, do it all.
Exactly. Don't buy, just lease, all of that stuff. And so it's like, there's these two very, very different worlds, right? And where do you take these two things and line them up to where it makes sense for you? And so I think back to when Holly and I, before we purchased the home that we're in now, we had 2 kids, both had, copious amounts of school debt, because it's just what happens when you go to college.
Exactly.
You end up with school debt, right? Had a car payment, had all these other things. And one of the things that going through Dave Ramsey that really opened up our eyes, and I'll let you dig into this a little bit more too, because I know this is your heart, is the end in mind goal is not debt freedom. The end in mind goal is not to buy a house. The end in mind goal is not to buy a Lamborghini, right?
Exactly.
The end in mind goal is for you to be enjoying life on a beach with a cigar and a whiskey or whatever it is, right? Or
your thing.
I want to be retired. I want to be able to pass on generational wealth to my kids. I don't want to think small.
Right.
I don't want to think just a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
Exactly.
I want to think huge, And so I know when we were talking, that was one of the things that you are super passionate about too, is hey, let's big picture. What are we trying to do here?
Absolutely.
Which is huge.
Yeah. That's such a key point, because it's very easy to just think limited about this, right? A lot of people, when you start talking about financial advisors and dealing with a financial advisor, it's let me just get a huge insurance policy and I'm going to create my legacy by me dying and passing it on. But first of all, they don't have the knowledge to be able to sustain the money.
Mhm.
Then you haven't done anything for yourself to actually sustain and be well while you are living. So there are a lot of different elements that we rule out that we don't necessarily have to, because you can create the life that you want to live. You can do all of the things that you want to do, but we don't have to limit ourselves in that capacity to just rule out all of the other things.
Yeah.
So you make a great point. That debt freedom is a part of it. Investing is a part of it. Insurance is a part of it. College planning is a part of it. There are a lot of different parts that are key to your financial plan, but they all work together to be able to get to that goal. So like you said, it's not the end goal. Those things are a means to an end, but it is not the end at all.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So one of the other things too, and this is going along with what it is that you were talking about, is like kind of your process when it comes to sitting down with somebody, right? Like reality is not everybody has children, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody has school debt. Not everybody's situation is different. And your ability to sit down, and obviously there's things where, and this is the thing that was so interesting to me, is being able to go, all right, where is your wealth right now? Like where are you at financially? What are you worth on paper? And there's a reason behind that. It probably has to do with life insurance and that, but like there's a reason behind like where you're at now. Let's get a true snapshot of that. And I've noticed, especially in my world, some people just don't know.
Exactly.
And that's the most stressful piece behind this.
Yeah, a lot of times, especially dealing with younger clients, that's probably the main thing they come in the door saying, hey, I'm making money. Things seem to be well, but I don't know where my money is going. I have no idea how to track my cash flow and where I'm spending and all of these things. So that is very, very true. And a lot of people struggle with that because they don't have that game plan. For me, being in athletics, and that's kind of why I like working with former athletes. You don't have to be a former athlete, but just the framework and way that the athlete thinks. They think playbook. They think like, okay, I need to study this. I need to learn this. I have a team around me that can help, where they may see areas that I'm strong and they may see areas where I'm not so strong, and kind of help tend that or nurture that to make it strong. It is a very collaborative process in which we really are coming together. We're looking at the film, right? Like, what have you done? To your point, why have you done that? Where are you? And by asking these questions, you can help determine where they are going to go in the future. It's just like a GPS. You probably have heard this analogy, like you put it in, you might take a few turns that aren't necessarily true, but in the end, it's there to correct you and get you back to where you're going to go. So it's the same thing for the planning process. As I sit down with another individual, I always say, like, I call myself the money QB, but I'm really not the QB in the situation. I've played on the field, but now I'm more so like the coach, because if I'm working with an individual, we sit down, you have to get out on the field and run the play. Like, you are the quarterback of your family. You have to lead. You have to like show them that you're capable and able to actually lead the family. And you do that by the decisions that you make. Right. So that's the entire process. Let's sit down, let's figure it out, let's get it on paper. And it's not even what I think, it's what you feel, what you think, what you want, because my legacy and what that looks like can be totally different from what you want. And that's totally okay. But bringing those things to the forefront and being able to articulate them in a very good way can set the process for which we're going to go.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's good stuff. So, anybody out there who's thinking about like, what does this process entail? What needs to be expected of me? Really, it's hey, call me first, right? Like, let me tailor my situation around you.
Yeah, that's the core of it, because it's not kind of a cookie cutter. You come in, I'm gonna just give you this template and you follow that and you'll be financially successful. That's not it at all. Much like on the football field, like you have different opponents, like they line up in different sets and things like that. So for an individual family, that's gonna look different. You may be very good at budgeting and like understanding your cash flow, but maybe you lack a little bit in just being maybe impulsive in investing in things that you shouldn't be investing in. And that's
Yeah.
totally okay. Like everybody has strengths, everybody has weaknesses, but the point of partnership or having some type of think partner is to be able to expose those things, talk about those things, understand those things, and execute on them.
Yeah.
And when we can do that, it's a really beautiful process and how it plays out, because like I'm not here to just tell you what to do. I'm not here to just, this is the plan and you follow it because I said so. It's more so, all right, this is what I suggest. This is why I suggest it. Here are the numbers to back it. And based on my understanding of your goals and what you're trying to accomplish for yourself and family, it makes sense. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
And based on how you answer, we can talk about that and we'll have a definitive answer on how we move forward.
Yeah.
So it is really just having a think partner. A lot of people feel alone when it comes to managing the money. They feel like they have to have it all figured out or don't know who to call because, you know, in our industry, like you're in real estate, I'm in financial planning, you got insurance people, you have like, you got to get a will and a trust. Like who do you actually call to do all of this kind of stuff? And to be able to have one person as your center of influence, really, who has all the people around him that can make those decisions, it just brings a level of comfort, and people can kind of just drop their shoulders and relax and know that things are going the way that they should go. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. This just hit me while I was thinking about it. Like, even, I mean, there's the planning and looking at it, and I'm going the sports route because I'm a sports guy too. But you can look at it from the standpoint of like, hey, we're watching film and what is this defense doing and how are we going to respond to that? But then there's also the idea of like, hey, I know your background because I looked you up, but like from the Penn State point of view, like you're more of an athletic quarterback. You're not a pocket passer, for example, right? Like you run, you go on the move. However, your ability to miss the number 2 possible receiver that's out there, it might be the very thing that's removing us from our next jump in the game.
Exactly.
You know, like, so being able to point it out from that point, perspective too, and being connected to so many athletes, like even just in our office, we have guys who are playing in the East Coast Hockey League just right here, right? Like that's a normal thing. Plus for Metro Detroit, like this is a sports city. This is what we're about. Which Tigers just opening day the other day.
Yeah.
Right on. Everybody in the office is that opening day. I was here hustling and selling houses for y'all. But yeah, no, it's good stuff. So there's a lot happening within the athletic world right now. And I don't even necessarily mean just like, I can think back to high school and I remember like the crazy idea of this 8th grade kid is getting a scholarship. What
you still hear about that a little bit, not as much. I feel
know,
like,
but like we think back to like, because we graduated the same year. Which speaking of, I have to say this. I don't know if Joe Kowalski watches this or not, but
that was my man.
Yeah,
my old lineman. I remember. Shout out to Joe.
Yeah, Joe Kowalski, man. He was my boy. Did he? One of the things that he always used to do at football is he was a huge duck hunter.
Yep.
Did he mention this?
Yeah, I feel like I remember this.
Every time, it didn't matter if we were in a huddle, if we were lined up at practice, it didn't matter if ducks flew over, he would just scream mallards. Mallards. That's what he would do every single time.
I don't think I've heard that before.
Yeah, he was a goofball. I love it. But that might be just the difference between public school and private school though. Like
potentially.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Every other kid was like, no, that's a duck. No,
right.
You don't understand. Anyways, there's a lot happening within the world of athletics right now. Like at the I mean, even the middle school level of like this, hey, your next step is here already, you know? And then you get to the NIL stuff that's going on right now. Like, dude, it's wild. It's wild. Like I think back and I like the Jamarcus Russells of the world that come out of LSU and they get dropped this multi-million-dollar contract, don't do anything with it, right? And now where's he at? Yeah. And now you have college athletes, 18-year-old children.
It's a pandemic.
Right.
It's a pandemic. Absolutely. Yeah. I tell this story all the time. Back to my college days when I got my first exposure to money, right? And when you enroll in school, I was at Penn State, and you get what's called a Pell Grant. And this Pell Grant for me ended up being about $5,000 a semester. Now, it's not a ridiculous amount of money, but for someone in school with no expenses, that's a lot of money, right? Yeah. So Just like any 18-year-old kid with no financial sense, I blew it. I blew everything.
Mhm.
But the thing is that I tell this story because at the end of it, when I've graduated and get into financial planning, I'm just thinking like, okay, I had X amount of dollars by the time I graduated. What could that have been to get me going in the right direction? And after figuring it out, I could have had some $35,000 just ready to buy a house, ready to really start my life. But instead, you have shoes, you have like flights home that you didn't really need to take, like all of this stuff. And that's the core of how I'm thinking about the NIL, because you're giving kids who don't really have the financial sense the money, but just more of it.
Yeah.
And there needs to be some type of education, some boundaries around that to really protect the kids, because at the core of it, if I had $500,000 at 18 years old, I don't know if I'd be, I don't know what I would be doing.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't be focused. And the goal of trying to get to the league or start a business, that probably would have been secondary to whatever I could do for just making the dollar today.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a big thing. It's a blessing that they get that, and I'm happy that they are, but I do have some concerns.
For sure. For those of you who don't know, who might not just might not follow this, majority of the people that are like watching this probably do. But for those of you who don't, NIL stands for name, image, and likeness, correct?
Yep, that's it.
And so it's really the ability for a college athlete, because this is a real thing. The institutions that are having these football games, name one, Big 10, Big 12, ACC, SEC, whatever it is. The reality is people are showing up to those games to watch those individual people play, because they're going to turn into the Peyton Mannings. They're going to turn into the Michael Vicks. They're going to turn into the Jamar Chases or whoever it might be, right? That's who they're becoming. Kids are buying jerseys that have their names or their numbers on it, but they don't have their names. And so the school is able to profit from these individuals, these kids that they recruited, and are getting an education, in most cases for free. However, the institution is then pocketing millions. And I mean, if we look at the grand scheme of it, billions of dollars,
big B,
billions of dollars off of these kids. And so as a means of them being able to benefit from that, other companies now, like you might even see who's the Blake Corum, right? He's got to deal with Wolverine boots right now.
Yeah.
Like you see it all the time. He comes up on the, he's getting paid from that. Mike Morris, the local lawyer, he's got to deal with Mike Morris of the Michigan defensive lineman. So it's their way to be able to do that and lean on that. The problem is like, it's not small checks that these kids are getting, and it comes back to what it is you said before. Like, what's the end in mind with this? It's not the green Lamborghini. Wake up,
it's we have to think big picture. And the thing is, what my mission is to catch people early, because those kids being in college at that age, I just think about myself. If I had the understanding that I had today back then, I do differently. So for $5,000, like biblically it says, those who steward what you have like today, you'll be able to steward. If you take care of a little, you can do a lot with a lot, right? So that's the thing. Like, let's just start small. Like, teach them the principles, the discipline, and how to manage what they have today. And it may just happen to be a $500,000 check, but what could the $500,000 be 10 years from now, 15 years from now? Like, let's think about that and let's actually process it, rather than just being impulsive about the decisions that we make today, because that's what we feel, right? So it's a lot that has to go into that, and I just hope and pray that the kids get that information before they just blow through it all, because you see it all the time. It happens so often, and you would think that you'd hear those stories less, but it seems like it's increasing, which is weird. So it needs to be addressed. Absolutely.
Yep. With that being said, my guess is some of you out there who are listening to this, of a high school athlete even who is at the top of their caliber when it comes to what it is they're doing at the local high school, right? Before ever setting foot into a college institution and having the opportunity to be having a check of even $10,000 slid across the table to you, for an NIL type deal, my suggestion would be to reach out, have a conversation with Rob, because you're not just speaking to somebody who, hey, I'm coming from the wealth management side of things, but he's also coming from the, I understand how these institutions work.
Yeah.
I was at Penn State. I was at LSU. I've been involved in the Big Ten. I've been involved in the SEC. These are big conferences, the top of really the top of the United States when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
Sit down, have a conversation with Rob. Your office is, you guys are right in Royal Oak.
Yeah, we're right in Royal Oak, right on Main Street. Yeah, please reach out, because like we're supposed to help the people that we once were. So I was the 18-year-old who did all of the things. Like I don't condemn it at all. But like I said, if someone had told me, if someone sat me down and actually like told me, hey, you can do this with this amount of money, or this is the opportunity that you're kind of giving up on. It's all about opportunity cost. What you do today, you give up what that could have been later on. So understanding it from that perspective, I just want to give that perspective. And I know every conversation isn't going to lead to them actually implementing my advice. That's okay. But at least at least you can look back and say, well, Rob told me at 18. I still did it, but that's okay. That's cool. But just having a resource available is half the battle.
Definitely. And that's, if there's anything that I want you guys to hear behind this, it's Rob's and my heart for you and the community that we are in, not even necessarily the community that we're currently serving, right? Like the heart behind this is we want to take care of people.
Exactly.
That's what we're about. That's what we're for. And if a 10-minute conversation over a cup of coffee is the thing that this ends up being, and it ends up taking the trajectory of somebody's life of blowing $20,000 that's been handed to them and being able to build generational wealth to pass on to the next generation, God bless. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, I back that 100%. Obviously, we like sitting down with families and going through all of that. But for the kids that are coming in and in these situations, they need us just as much. So we'll never turn that away. And we encourage you, like you said, please reach out. If I can answer anything, I'm an open book, and we'll be able to put something together so that you can think about this stuff tangibly.
Yeah, I love it. Your phone number and the website has been scrolling across the bottom of the screen, but is there any other places I know you guys are jumping on, you and Corey are, which shout out to Corey. What's up, girl? You guys are doing the YouTube channel that you have going on here too. So my guess is that'll be coming up on the website here pretty soon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have, so Corey and I, this is my fiance. We just got engaged October of last year. So we just have been learning a lot. We haven't really been on social media like that. And we're getting onto it with caution. I'm not a huge social media guy, but I know that it's a way that you can reach a lot of people, right? So the stuff that we're learning, the stuff that we have just been talking about has been amongst ourselves and our peer group and our community. However, we just want to share it with the world. And that's where we'll be doing that. But also for my business, Bolden Wealth Management, we'll be doing another channel. It won't be the same. We'll set up another channel and start kind of posting content, more wealth management, finance related, just to be able to talk about that stuff there too. So
I love it. I love it. So definitely go give this guy a follow. Pay attention to what it is that he's doing, because he's got a lot of good content coming out for all of you guys here soon. So dude, so happy that you could be on the podcast today and be a part of this. And hopefully we'll make this a regular thing. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm all for it, man. Thanks for having me.
Right on. Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in today's episode of Tuesdays with Rory. Super thankful for you all. Have a very blessed